Hello, and welcome to another Halloween Bondi Blue review. So tonight's review will be about Child's Play. Let's get into it. So, somehow, some way, a white man knew enough voodoo to transfer his soul into a Chucky doll in a toy store on a dark, dangerous night. A single mom, Caucasian, very stupid, buys her son a Chucky doll in a back alley where there seems to be an immense population of druggies and homeless people. The mom has a friend, and if this were the 2000s instead of the 80s, she would have been a lesbian friend. She babysits for Andy, the young boy, the protagonist, or at least one of them in the movie. Because I suppose Andy's mom is also a protagonist. However, whatever. Andy is being babysat by the friend. And all of a sudden, things are happening. And really, it's Chucky doing it. But see, the mom's friend thinks that it's little Andy. Well, she ends up being thrown out of a window by a doll. Can we discuss this for a second? How does a grown woman get thrown out of a window by a doll? I mean, even if we're going to act as if you can transfer your soul into a doll, how do you then have the physical strength, doll, to throw someone of flesh and bone out of a window? Questions all. The mom gets home and freely runs into a crime scene without anyone stopping her. Then she goes through the house, looking through every single door, with the last one being Andy's room. Don't you think she should have started there? Who knows? Andy says that sis had an accident. She went out the window. Accident, Andy? I think not. Then the cop sees little small footprints on the counter that have gone through flour for some reason. And they suspect that it's little Andy. But how? Tell me how. Would little Andy have been able to throw that grown-ass woman out the window? I can't see it. But even if he had, why not check the shoes? They did. There was nothing on the shoes. What I meant is, why not check the doll shoe? The detective on the case hates loose ends. He's no Columbo, we'll say that. But he finds a kid's hammer and says, maybe this is the murder weapon. And it's like, but it's a kid's hammer. Could it have? I think not. Who's making real weapons and real like wood hammers for kids? Who's doing this? Like, kids don't need stuff they can actually murder people with. Sorry, back into character. Andy and Chucky get on a subway to head to the hood. Nobody stopped Andy. Andy's a kid. Nobody said, wait, kid, where's your mom? Nothing. Just let the little kid get on the subway and go about his day with a big-ass Chucky doll. And that's another thing. Like, who carries around a doll their size all day? That just seemed like a struggle. But you know what? Back into character. While Andy relieves himself out in public, Chucky is blowing up the house of his accomplice, Eddie Caputo. At the beginning of the movie, Eddie Caputo and Charles Lee Ray, who turns himself into Chucky, were trying to kidnap a woman, but the police showed up. And so the police, I always forget his name, chased the guy into the toy store, okay? Then he got shot, and his partner, Eddie Caputo, left him behind, regardless of all the begging for him not to. So now he's seeking revenge. The police then take Andy into kitty custody, leaving the mom at home with a Chucky doll. And then she realizes she never put batteries in the Chucky doll. Oh yes. Now she knows that there's some truth to what Andy has been saying this whole time. So the mom takes the Chucky doll and she puts it by the fire and she's like, talk, damn it. And just before she threatens to throw it into the fire, the Chucky doll pops to life. He calls her a filthy bitch, and then he starts biting her. Ow. Ow. Then he gets in an elevator and skedaddles. Andy's mom runs to the detective to tell him that she just got attacked by a Chucky doll. She got bite marks all over the place, but he doesn't believe her, thinks she's crazy. Like a white woman, I'm sorry, but this is the truth. She goes to the hood to try and find the guy who gave her the doll in the back alley. She almost gets gang raped. It's that serious. Apparently the police officer wasn't close enough on her heels because these men were going for her. I mean, they were grabbing. Okay, they were going for it, including the guy who she gave money for the doll. Okay? The cop comes up, pulls out his gun, everybody backs away. They ask him, where did he get the doll? Of course, he's going to be a smart ass. But he tells them that he got it out back that toy store that burned down, which reminds the detective about Charles Lee Ray. The cop still isn't convinced. Of course he isn't. And he drops Andy's mom off back at her apartment. In the car, Chucky pops up behind him and strangles him. Who gets strangled by a fucking doll? I don't know. But this cop does. Then he tries to stab him in the dick. In the dick. How envious of you, Chucky. Or should I say, Charles Lee Ray. The car crashes. Because how can you continue to drive when a doll is trying to stab you in the dick? But the Chucky doll gets away after being shot and wounded by the detective. Andy's mom and the detective go to Charles Lee Ray's apartment. Finds drawings of him and a black voodoo man all over the walls. This was the 80s. Everybody's all scared. Ooh, voodoo. When really, it is an extension of the spirituality of indigenous peoples. Voodoo is what the black folks used to mix Catholicism with their natural spiritual religion. I don't really want to call it a religion, but for lack of a better term, history lesson. In the mural, there were white people bowing to a black man, so you know this must mean it's evil. Then they set out to find the black man in the murals, and his name is John. He's the man that taught Charles Lee Ray about how to make a gree-gree bag. Chucky shows up to John's apartment and tells him in his doll form that he's been shot, it hurts like shit, and he needs help. John says, no, you're an abomination, and he starts to dial to call someone instead of setting Chucky's little ass on fire when he had the chance. Chucky knows where John's voodoo doll is hidden. He retrieves it. Then he breaks his arm and his leg in an attempt to get him to tell him how he can save himself. Colonizer type shit. Lying on the ground, broken, he tells him, you have to transfer your soul into another body. Dying on the floor, although we don't know how, he only broke his arm and his leg, but he's dying. Maybe internal bleeding, who knows? But he tells him that the only way he can live is if he transfers his soul into Andy's body. Because Andy was the first person that realized that he was Charles Lee Ray and not just a Chucky doll. Andy's mom and the detective get there just in time for John, who's on his way out, to tell them Chucky's plan to get his soul into Andy's little body. Andy at this point ain't stupid. So he sees Chucky's ass climbing up the stairs. He's locked in Kitty Asylum. He calls for a doctor. Help me, help me, help me. Who leaves a 6-year-old crying in a cell? Can we talk about this? Trump much? When the door is open, the stupid doctor is trying to give Andy a tranquilizer. But Chucky creeps up on him and stabs him and then electrocutes him. Over and over in his head, over and over until he dies. It was terrible. It was terrible. The juxtaposition of a seemingly I love you happy doll electrocuting someone's mind. Wow. If it wasn't for some of the, unbelievability, you'd say this was a damn good movie, wouldn't you? The police I mean, really? 6-year-old Andy overpowers the grown man? Whatever. They think he killed the doctor. But Andy's mom and the detective know better. So they head back to the house. Chucky is already on his way in the elevator. When Chucky gets to Andy, he just starts to chant. And instead of picking him up and throwing his little ass out the window like the true doll that he is, the mom picks him up and starts to get bit on the neck. Because that's what you do. You pick it up. You don't sling it or stomp on it or nothing like that. Oh no, you pick it up and let it get close to your neck. Like Andy's mom was just dying to die, okay? Then Chucky stabs the detective in the leg. He's getting the upper hand on you grown people. Eventually, the mom fights and barricades Chucky into the fireplace. And then little Andy comes, like the psychopath he's growing up to be, lights a match and says, "It's the end, friend." Whoosh! Fire! You think Chucky's over, don't you? You think Child's Play is about to end. With some resolve. And apparently the detective and the mom going on a date. But oh no, that's not what you're getting here. I mean, why would she want to be with him anyway? Who gets fucked up by a doll? She won the fight. Her, not him. Her. So I guess while they're waiting for the other cops to get there and trying to figure out how they're going to explain this because they know no one's going to believe them, we realize Chucky wasn't dead. He was just burned a little bit. Then the mom gets the detective's gun and starts to shoot at Chucky. First she shoots the arm, then she shoots the head, and then she shoots one of the legs. But that Chucky doll, burnt and charred, just keeps on moving. And I'm screaming, "Shoot him in the heart, bitch!" She shoots him, but we don't know if he's dead. Then the cop's partner shows up, and of course, they tell him he doesn't believe a word of it. He goes and looks at the Chucky doll, even though they say don't touch it. But he goes and he gives it the old poke, thinks he's won. Goes back to the room. What are you guys talking about? This puts the doll's burnt head on top of the TV. The doll's body jumps through a vent and strangles the cop's partner until the actual detective can shoot Chucky again, but finally gets him in the heart. And for some reason, the Chucky doll was turning into a human, so it had blood when it shot him in the heart. All them other times, nothing. I mean, the burning didn't even get to the heart. No, you had to actually pierce the heart. Like, come on now. Sorry. But yeah, blood splatters on the wall. Boom, bow, pow, happy ending. Andy can live another day. The Chucky doll is dead. And this was just the 1988 version of Child's Play. Well, I hope you enjoyed us discussing Child's Play. I don't think I'm gonna see the second one. I don't want you to distort the majesty of the voodoo aspect with technology. Oh, thank you. I'm already weirded out by it enough. Well, like I said, hope you enjoyed. And I'll see you in the next one.